Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Latina Mic Drop. Today, I'm opening up about moments in my life that could have ended it all. Going through my own suicide attempt, surviving a missed bullet, and losing my sister. These experiences were very difficult, were not easy, and all happened before I was 18 years old. They all happened in my childhood. And they've taught me some really good lessons and showed me what it really means to survive, to heal, and to keep living with purpose. So I'm sharing this not only for me, but for anyone out there who's felt hopeless, lost, or afraid. If that's you, I want you to know you're not alone. And there is strength waiting for you on the other side of fear. So, of these moments, the bullet, my suicide attempt, or losing my sister, which one hit me the hardest and why? So, all three have their moment and all three have their lessons. The one that hit me the most and was the hardest to go through was me losing my friend at 17. And the reason why I say that is because the other two, I was still young and I don't really remember too much of it. It's almost like it's been swept under the rug and has been hidden in a secret vault for many, many years. And the only time I opened up about this was in the book, Tattoos and Pearls. The whole point of writing the book was to share, hey, I know you see me here. You see me up here. You see where I'm at today, but it wasn't always this way. And I wanted to walk you through the journey of what I've been through. And these experiences were definitely at the top of the list to share because they taught me how to live life. They gave me energy. And the one that hit me the hardest for sure was losing my friend. And that was so scary. And that was a moment that I was only 17. I remember it like it was yesterday. And my life changed from one night, one moment to the next. Now, I know you've heard that already before, right? If your life changed, but how did it change? For one, he didn't make it. He saved my life. We were at a pool hall hanging out and somebody came. We went to the front door and somebody began shooting. My friend pushed me out of the way and he got shot. And I didn't. So he, in essence, saved my life. And that's actually who I dedicated my book to, because had he not saved my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have experienced motherhood. I wouldn't have experienced love. I wouldn't have experienced all the great things that life has to offer after that moment. And it was so difficult to really understand what had just happened, how everything happened, what led up to that day, the messages that we received from each other, the goodbye message he told me, the feeling of him biting my tattoo. It was just, in a way, a beautiful ending for us. Now that I think about it, because it was almost like he knew his day was coming. And I don't know if that's a reality for everyone. I've heard that before. I know that for people that are sick or people who are older, they know that. But I was 17 and he must have been, I don't know, early 20s, mid 20s. So I don't recall exactly his age, but it was just everything was in our relationship had been so beautiful, so fun, so enchanting that we would have never thought that day was going to come and that I would never ever see him again. And the reality is that when you're having a good time, when you have good people in your life, when you're laughing and joking around, you just never know. You just never know how long that's going to last. And that's why one of the things that I think about is everything is temporary. And that's a reality because you just never know how long it's going to take. You don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know when it'll finish. You don't know when it'll end. And I have a really, really hard time with endings because of it. And I never really had realized how hard it was, but it was definitely life changing for me. And it's something that I don't ever even speak about, but it is a very important topic to speak about because life and death go together. And it was one of the hardest for me to realize that one day to the next, my life was going to be completely different. Everything that I knew was going to be different. Everybody I knew was going to walk away. Nobody wanted to touch the subject. Nobody wanted to say anything to me. Nobody wanted to speak to me. People thought it was my fault. People thought, why would she survive and not him? And he was a very loving guy, and a lot of people loved him. He was very popular. And so a lot of people had a lot to say. And I really don't even know what they said. Maybe these are just stories that I've made up in my head as to why people stayed away, or they were just scared of getting involved. They were just scared because obviously, right, there's a lot of people who are involved when something like that happens, and nobody wants to get involved in any of that, in any of those kinds of stories. It really is not that easy, and it's very difficult to go through. And the reason why I say it was so beautiful was the fact that about a week before, we were always hanging out. He would come to me and pick me up and go to the park, and he lived 1 block away, and he lived on 4 stories apartment like I did. And so he would call my grandma's number, and we would talk, and we would see each other from his window to my window. We both had a similar personality where we were always happy, jolly, laughing, having a good time, and we'd always be cracking up together and living life and just enjoying it. And one day he came, he picked me up, and he said, listen, I have to have a talk with you. And I'm like, yeah, what's going on? And he says, I think I'm going to go away next week. I have a court date, and I don't think I'm going to make it. I don't think I'm going to come back. I was like, what? He's like, I really want you to move on with your life. I really want you to be okay. Know that you're going to be okay. We just began playing around and joking around like we always do. We were kids, and you're just like, you start like not pushing and shoving each other, but just like playing around a little bit. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Stop playing. I pushed him. I like pushed him on his chest, and he lost his breath. When he lost his breath, why are you losing your breath? I didn't even push you that hard. He says to me, look. He opens up his shirt. He shows me a huge scar, maybe like 2 inches big. He shows me how that's where he had been stabbed. He said, look, that's why. I was like, wow. And then he just brushed it off, and then we were still playing around, and then we were hugging each other. And so then on my tattoo, he bit my tattoo. Not hard, playing around. I got this sensation of the chills on it. That was just so unique to that moment because it had never ever actually happened to me before. It was just that moment. Then this night approaches where this happens, and the minute that I heard him fall to the ground, I turned around. He was on the floor, and I go to pull his shirt open. That's when I knew that it wasn't going to be okay because blood was coming out exactly in that same spot. And then everything after that just happened so quickly. And I didn't find out about him passing until the next day at the police station. After that, I really just went into a hole in my 4-story apartment building. And all I did was just lay down in my bed. It was summertime, so we didn't have any school. I didn't have anything else to do or say. Ever since that day, after that, I continued to have those feelings, almost like when I've had moments, the chills on my tattoo, almost when I've had moments wondering and questioning, am I okay? Is everything going to be okay? Like, I'm going through it. It's always been like he's always been there for me, which he told me he would. So that is why it's so difficult. And it's insane the things you go through with the person and even after death. I can't explain it, but that's what it feels like. So then now another question I got asked recently was, what ran through my mind in that split second when the bullet missed me and I wasn't thinking about me at all? I was just thinking about him. What, like, because you literally don't see it. All I could remember was the sound of his body dropping at that exact moment. And that was the end. There was nothing going through my mind other than, is he okay? I didn't even look around. I didn't even think it was just a moment. That was insane. Now, if we go into talking about what do I remember most about the moment that I tried to take my own life, that moment for me was when I was young, a kid. I mean, I don't know, before I was a teenager. And all I remember was the moment I decided not to. And it was like a split second where I don't even know what I thought. All I know is that I made a split decision not to do it. And that just made all the difference. And I think I was just thinking about how much my family needed me and how much my mom needed me, because I was the oldest and I was helping everybody and we were really going through it. And then after surviving, what gave me strength to keep going? My family, for sure. That's what I keep thinking about, is my family, especially my mom, even though I really don't speak to her now as much. But it was always her. So when I think about losing my sister, how did that shape my view of life and myself? At that moment, which was really insane to me, I already knew that she wasn't going to make it. So she came home. My mom came home with the baby, and her name was Catherine. And she came home, and she was like a quiet baby. She wasn't really like crying or making too much noise. And I just remember one day looking at her and saying, and I said this and I thought this one day. So we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. My mom at this point, me, my brother, my 2 sisters. I remember jumping up and down on the bed and saying to myself, I was jumping on the bed, totally forgot the baby was on there. And then one time when I jumped and I looked down, I had just freaking missed like jumping on her. I was like, oh shit. And imagine I'm a little kid, like I love to jump, like I love the thrill. Like I've always been that way. And oh my God. And then I said, she's not going to be here with us anyways for long. And I can remember myself. I can remember that moment that I said that. And then I said, all right, I gotta go. She didn't wake up. So I just left. And I don't know how long after that moment, because my sister didn't live 30 days. Like she didn't live 1 month. And my mom had taken her to the hospital a few times before she didn't come back with her. And that was a really tough time because that was one of the first times I really saw my mom suffer. I just saw her lose her child, which was very difficult. And that's something that I never wanted to experience myself. And then one of the stories that I add in the book is that we were at the funeral home, and I don't even know why, but somebody needed to go with the casket. And my mom just couldn't do it. Like, she couldn't do it. And I don't even know if she was in there or not. I can't remember. But all I know is that I had to carry it. And I sometimes think to myself, was that a fucking movie? Or was that shit fucking real? Because that's fucking crazy. And sorry for the explicit words, but that's why sometimes I use them. Because shit, what the fuck was that? And I remember taking a break when I wrote that story, when I was writing it. And I was like, bro, this is fucked up. This is crazy. What kind of responsibility did I have as a little kid? So many of us go through that. So many of us, first generation, we've done it a million times. It's unthinkable to think all the stuff that we have done. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure if you go back and think, you can come up with a few different things that you've done that were hard. And because your parents couldn't or wouldn't, you had to do it. And that was a moment that was not fun. It was hard. I did it without even knowing. And I felt like I had no choice. Now, as an adult, I know I have choices. And I probably would have pushed back. But at that moment, I didn't. Now, did surviving all of this give me a sense of purpose or a calling? Hell yeah. Shit. Advocate for fucking other people. Advocate for the person who can't speak for themselves. Advocate for the person who can't see that they're effing with them. Advocate for the person that doesn't recognize that people are being mean or people are being bullies. Advocate for people to live a better life and to be happy. And even for yourself. That's what you want. You want to be happy. You want to set boundaries. You don't need to go through hard things. And sometimes we will. And no matter how your age, you will go through tough things. And the other thing too, it just showed me how strong we really are and how much we can get through and how long it takes to learn how to live with the reality of what it is. I don't think a lot of the stuff we've been through, especially these types of moments, you get over, they change you forever. And you carry it with you. And you learn how to live with it day by day. And you learn how to accept it as you go on. And as you begin to have autonomy and you begin to have choice as an adult, right? Because these things happened to me as a kid. When you think about these as an adult, you recognize you don't have to go through so many different things. And I mean, life and death is different because we just don't know when that's going to happen. We can't call the shots on that. That's one of those things you can't control. And I also learned that because you can't control it, you're better off living your best life and enjoying the freaking moment and being present and being surrounded by those you want to be surrounded by and doing the things that you think are important to you, regardless of what other people think, regardless of what other people may agree or disagree with. Those times are hard. And had I not been through these things, I don't think I would have fought so hard for my happiness. But because I did, I was able to. And I was able to also go get through motherhood and my LGBTQ plus experience and navigating the career space, going from nothing to where I'm at today, and just navigating everything that happens in life. And anyways, like, there's rarely anything that shakes me up. There's really anything that can really intimidate me because of these situations, because people think other situations are hard, and in reality, like, I don't compare anybody else's experience with mine. But when I think about it in terms of difficulty, some of the things that are being looked at as that are really not. And I'm not talking about what happens to people. I'm talking about like certain situations where people think things are complicated. In reality, they're not. The emotions that surface today when I tell my story are gratitude, number one. More than anything, I am so freaking grateful. Grateful for the strength, the resilience, the power, the depth, the care. I mean, that's why I'm so compassionate, like very kind person, even though people want me to be mean or want to be see me as mean, but it's not that way. I'm just strong. And facing death changed the way that I live. There is not one day that I don't appreciate waking up in the morning. There's so much to be, to do, and we all have 24 hours. People always ask me, how are you so freaking productive? How do you do so many different things? How are you in here, here, and here? How do you post? How do you manage all these people? How do you manage these projects? How do you reach excellence 24/7? How do you do this? How do you learn so much? How do you learn so quick? And really, all of these experiences really showed me that I can do a lot more than sometimes we think we can. And that's why I am always thinking about how powerful we really are, because we really are that powerful. And I think sometimes we're scared to see how powerful we are, and the power of our words, power of our actions, power of our emotions, of our vulnerability, of our ability to connect. It's life changing for people. And that's something we really should. And I recommend that we get closer, regardless of differences, regardless of our opinions, regardless of where we are, regardless of where we're going to go. There is a good way to get to where you're going. There is a good way of getting what you want without hurting others. Now, if I could speak to my younger self or my sister, what would I want them to know about strength and survival? You've probably heard this a million times, but you only live once. And every day you have a decision to make. You make a decision after a decision. And trust your decisions. If you make the wrong decision, learn from it. And get right back up. Cry. I'm crying in this episode. I'm telling you, crying. It's not easy to revisit these moments. It's not easy to live through these moments. It's not easy to revisit these moments. But the reality is that you are a strong person and you know it. You have evidence. If you really look, some of you don't even really have to look because you see it every day. You know it. You've been through it. You've accomplished. You've been able to get through. All of us at one point or another have had difficult things to get through. My younger self, I would just like to say that you're going to be loved. You're going to be happy. You're going to be helping others. You're going to do so well. You're going to do good things. You're going to help. And the biggest lessons about resilience and healing takes time. Resilience could be different, varying by experience, depending on who's around you, who's supporting you, who's helping you, who you reach out to. And when people are going through things, it's important that you're there for them, not by saying or judging. Sometimes we just need somebody to hold or somebody to hold us. And healing takes time. And sometimes we don't even recognize that the things that are happening in our lives are happening to us to resurface these events and these challenges that we've been through. So therefore, the healing will happen as soon as you see that moment again. So I hadn't seen some of these moments until recently, until I wrote the book, really. Again, because I knew that I needed to be able to speak about them, be able to share, be able to talk. And these are tough. People are not willing to speak about these things too often. And people are scared to speak about these things. And being vulnerable is very hard. It's not that easy. And it's difficult to go into your heart. Even for me as a speaker, like I've been dancing at the edge of it. Like I know people are like, go ahead, Miriam, you can get in there, you can get in there. And I haven't because it's tough to be in this space. It's tough to be able to cry your heart out. The good thing is that you do feel good, you do feel happy. What I can say is that I've enjoyed the lessons that I've learned. It's given me a lot of purpose in my life and it's put a lot of things into perspective. It's definitely helped me become the person that I am today. I am 100% happy to have been able to share these close calls, the grief, the darkest moments. They've all shown me how fragile life is, but also how strong we can be. And my hope is that anyone listening today will feel seen, recognize their own strength, and remember, even in the darkest time, there is hope, there is growth, and there is a reason to keep going. You can survive, you can heal, and you can move forward. That's what my story is really about. Thank you so much for tuning in.